The 6th year I secretly liked Carter, we were still just friends. When I was sick and hospitalized, he paid for everything and took care of me more attentively than anyone else. When my cousin got engaged, he came with me to the event. He gave the biggest red envelope in the whole place. Everyone thought we'd end up together sooner or later. Finally, I mustered up the courage and confessed to him. But he just glanced at me carelessly. Playing with the lighter in his hand, he let out a soft laugh and said, "I treat you as a friend, and you want to date me? Lillian, stop joking. Behave." I was silent for a long time, then nodded. Okay. After that day, we didn't contact each other for a long time. The next time I got a call from him was 2 months later. He casually asked, "What have you been up to lately? Haven't seen you in a while." I glanced at the proud and aloof man opposite me and honestly replied, "Oh, I'm going on blind dates." Right after I said that, there was the sound of a phone smashing on his end. I never thought things between Carter and me would come to this. He leaned against the railing, his expression relaxed, lips curling into a slight smile as if he'd heard a joke. He asked, "Tell me, what do you like about me?" My palms were sweating. You treat me well. Better than anyone else." In these 6 years, he never missed a single thing in my life. On my birthday, he took care of everything, baking the cake himself, hosting the biggest party, placing me right in the center of the crowd, lazily lighting the candles. Make a wish. Whatever the heavens can't grant, I'll make it happen for you. He has a villa on Nanwan Road with a huge garden full of roses, all because I like them. He didn't actually live there at first. He bought the place because when I had just graduated, the work pressure was intense, I was a rookie, and often felt wronged and exhausted. I once cried in front of him. Not long after, he moved in and even left a room for me. Sighing softly, he said, "If you ever feel wronged, just come over. I'm so close to you, if not me, then who else?" I was so busy with work I often skipped meals. This young master, who'd never lifted a finger before, learned to cook just to bring food to my office every day. The first dish he learned was my favorite, spicy chicken. Born with a silver spoon, he never acted proud. There were so many admirers around him they could circle the entire northern city twice. Some even asked me to arrange a dinner date with him. I was young back then and didn't know how to say no. I helped set up a girl with Carter. That same night, the girl called me. "He seems gentle, but he's cold to the core. I guess I don't stand a chance." She said Carter was the most well-mannered man she'd ever met. When she realized she was being used, he didn't get angry but patiently stayed with her until the meal ended. Then he said, "Lillian's career is just taking off, her time is always split in two. If you don't care about her, I do. If you have nothing better to do, don't bother her. Don't you agree, Ava?" Back then, everything was delicate and quiet, as if time itself was gentle. Those were the best days. Everyone thought that since we were this close, we'd eventually be together. I thought so too. But I never expected what to do if he didn't like me back. Carter raised his eyebrows, and after a long pause, he lowered his eyes and called my name seriously. "Lillian. You're 25 this year. How many people have you really met? Someday, someone will treat you better than I do." My body stiffened. I already knew his answer. I choked up for a moment. It felt like I had messed everything up. I'd seen him reject others before. Girls with pretty faces cried their eyes out in front of him, lowering their dignity, telling him how much they liked him. But he never showed any reaction. Sometimes he even instinctively distanced himself, cold enough to make your heart ache. I just thought he was different with me. But now it seemed not. I was the one who misunderstood. Seeing I was about to cry, he raised his hand, wanting to wipe my tears like before. But halfway up, he seemed to remember something and put his hand down. He picked up the lighter nearby and pressed it twice, annoyed. I was reluctant to give up. "But in all these years, there's been no other girl around you except me. Can't we at least try? I like you, really like you, Carter." My words tumbled out. His expression grew colder. I suddenly felt embarrassed. After knowing him for so many years, I knew better than anyone what that look meant. He was annoyed with me. Then he chuckled softly, a bit careless, as if making a final conclusion. I treat you as a friend, and you want to date me? Do you think that's appropriate? Lillian, stop joking. Behave. I was silent for a long time. I knew it was over between us. We wouldn't even be friends anymore. But I asked myself, will I ever meet someone like him again? Someone who cares so much, takes care of everything about me. I covered my face and cried loudly. He sighed, looked down at me. He said nothing, yet it felt like he'd said everything. He waited for me to finish crying, then helped me up. He curled his fingers to support me, then quickly withdrew his hand and put it in his pocket. He nodded toward the 2 large bags in the living room. These are gifts I brought you on my business trip. Take them all with you. I looked over. They were all luxury goods from home and abroad, each one worth several years of my salary. He had given me these many times before. No matter how expensive, it was like spilling water from his fingers to him. He always had countless reasons to give me gifts, promotions, raises, or that day I wore a really nice dress and the sun was shining bright. If I didn't accept, he'd be unhappy. After a while, knowing his temper, I began to give him gifts back, handmade sweaters and scarves, carefully picked ties and cufflinks. He always smiled when he received them. Friends told me, what you two have now is basically dating. If he didn't like you, no one would believe it. But they were wrong. I was wrong too. Carter only saw me as a friend. I said, I don't want them. He nodded and said, without adding anything. Before leaving, I looked back at him once. He sat quietly on the sofa, his expression dark and unreadable, fingers holding a cigarette. He looked a bit gloomy. I thought of the past and suddenly stopped in my tracks. I wanted to try again. I could take it slow, pursue him, and let him know my feelings were genuine. What if? But before I could say anything, he spoke first. Do you have the villa key with you? Give it back to me. I had held that key for many years. Never used it. I never lived there. But I was always afraid he'd forget it or something would happen at home. No matter where I went, I carried it with me. Until today, it finally came in use. I don't know how I took the key out of my bag and placed it in front of him. I just knew I must have lost my composure in front of him. Because when he took the key, he looked at me, stunned for a moment, then spoke almost indifferently, disappointment in his voice. Lillian, I always thought you were different from the other girls. Standing before him, I suddenly felt awkward and speechless. There was no argument to be made. I confidently told him I liked him, but forgot that before this, we were just friends. And he came from a prestigious family, surrounded since childhood by countless girls who approached him under such pretenses. After a while, he got tired of it all. He once said publicly he wouldn't date friends. That was why I was his only opposite-sex friend. When I found out, we weren't close yet, let alone in love, so I just smiled casually and didn't take it seriously. But now, it seemed from the start he clearly drew the line between us. He gave me all his sincere friendship, thinking I saw him the same way. We admired each other, nothing more. But now, he suddenly realized that wasn't true. I was a coward, a long-time secret admirer who finally showed my true feelings today. After that, I took 2 days off and went to the neighboring city for a short trip. During this time, Carter didn't contact me once. Before, we used to talk every day. Soon, I adjusted my mood and threw myself back into work. Colleagues asked about Carter, what happened to that super handsome rich kid? Why hasn't he come to bring you food these days? Before, he was so obvious about how good he was to me, even spoiled me a little. I said, he's busy. He won't be coming anymore. Not long after I said that, a colleague came back from downstairs with takeout, sat beside me and teased. You said he wouldn't come. I just saw him downstairs, he's here looking for you, right? For some reason, hope swelled in my heart. I pulled out my phone but found no message from him. My colleague pulled me to the window and pointed downstairs. There, I can't be wrong. Isn't that him? You better go down. I clenched my palms. But the next moment, a girl walked right in front of him. I recognized her. She was the most aggressive girl chasing Carter, Emily. Emily came from a good family and had a spoiled temper. Somehow she found out I was close to Carter and deliberately sought me out to threaten me. At that time, I was angry and fought with her. Carter arrived, and for the first time, he got really angry, his face darkened, and he told Emily to get lost. Then he carefully bandaged my wound and clicked his tongue. Didn't expect you to be so fierce. Don't worry, she won't appear in front of you again. At that moment, I truly felt maybe he liked me too. If I could just break through that barrier, I could openly be by his side. Emily walked up to Carter and said something. Carter's expression slowly relaxed and he smiled. Right then, I hated that I had such good eyesight. Soon, Carter went to open the car door. Maybe it was just my imagination, but it seemed like he glanced in my direction. But it was only for a moment before he looked away. Emily got in. The car drove off. My colleague awkwardly smiled. Maybe I was wrong. I said, no, that really was him. It was just that he wasn't here because of me. 4. Before long, everyone at the company knew that Carter and I had broken up. Someone quietly asked me, did he dump you? I shook my head and took a sip of coffee. No, we never even dated. They looked surprised and opened their mouth. I thought when you said you weren't together before, it was just because you didn't want to make it public. No, from start to finish, we really were never a couple. No one believed it. A high-status heir, treating a girl so gently, taking care of everything for her, just because they were friends. But maybe even he forgot that he wasn't like this with any other friends. She thought for a moment. You don't know yet, do you? When you first started, he personally came to the company and talked for a long time with Samuel in the office. I froze. I didn't know that. He never told me. But thinking back, there were signs. There was a manager who always targeted me, but not long after, he was demoted and transferred to another department. And so many projects that I wasn't supposed to get ended up with me. I worked even harder, avoiding any situation where I might run into Carter. And truly, I didn't see him again. The next time I heard his name was half a month later. I was out shopping with friends when a young man walked by. His name was Ryan, one of Carter's friends. He had a girl with him, someone I hadn't seen before, probably his new girlfriend. Seeing me, Ryan walked over excitedly. Lillian? I nodded and greeted him. He smiled. I just got back from a trip abroad today. It's been a while since we met. Let's have dinner tonight, and I'll invite Carter too. I said, no need. But before I finished, he already dialed his phone. Carter, dinner tonight? He accidentally put it on speaker. On the other end, the man's voice was cold and emotionless. Yeah, send me the address. Okay. By the way, Lillian's right here. I told her already. Bring her along tonight. After he said that, Carter was silent for a long time before replying. His voice was a little hoarse, tired. I have a meeting tonight. You guys eat without me. He hung up before Ryan could respond. 5. Ryan held the phone, looking a bit lost for a moment. After a while, he awkwardly looked at me, since Carter's busy, maybe next time. He wasn't stupid. Anyone could tell from that call that Carter didn't want to come because of me. The meeting was just an excuse. I nodded and agreed. But deep down, I knew there would be no next time. After Ryan left, my friend sighed. She knew all my feelings, and that day she was the one who encouraged me to confess. Is he avoiding you now? Just because you like him? I said, yes. My friend sighed, a bit confused. Not even giving you a chance. That's harsh. If he doesn't like you but treats you so well, isn't that just crazy? I was speechless. That night, lying in bed, I thought for a long time. Then I remembered how Carter and I met. It was a long time ago, and not exactly a happy memory. Carter was from a good family, handsome, and the center of attention from day one at school. Truly a golden boy. At that time, I was just ordinary, lost in the crowd. The one who really had been with him, who had his heart, was my roommate Grace. Unlike me, her love and pursuit were bold and passionate. From the start, her intentions were clear. She told Carter directly she liked him. Either he rejected her and never saw her again, or they would be together. No, you're great but let's just be friends, nonsense. She didn't want to hear that and wouldn't accept it. Looking back, maybe those words moved Carter. I was the one who recommended the restaurant where she confessed. After they got together, Carter treated us to dinner. That was the first time I saw him. He was already someone else's boyfriend then. I watched coldly, feeling nothing. Later, they broke up and Grace went abroad in anger. Carter waited under the dorm for a long time. When Grace didn't show up, he waited for me. When I finished talking, he immediately drove to the airport. I felt something was wrong, worried, so I took a taxi to follow him. He was driving too fast. By the time I arrived, he had already had a car accident and was unconscious. I followed the ambulance to the hospital, waiting through his surgery. I called Grace, but she never answered. Later, I realized she must have changed her phone number. That night, only I stayed with him. The next morning, I contacted his friends and family through school. I never went back to the hospital. When he woke up and heard people mention me, he came to find me under the dorm again. I thought it was urgent, so I hurried down. He looked at me and suddenly smiled, "It's you." At that moment, a strange feeling welled up inside me. Before that, we'd met a few times, but he'd never matched my face with my name. I said, "Yeah." Then I added, "Grace." His smile stiffened. "Forget it." He meant him and Grace were over. I paused and didn't ask more. Since then, he often came to see me and treated me like one of his own. I went from indifferent to touched. Finally, I fell for him. Liking someone like him was probably the easiest thing in the world. He'd only had that one serious relationship, and it ended painfully. Later, Grace tried to get back with him a few times, but he ignored her. As if the person who once chased her to the airport wasn't even him. Last month, news came that Grace got married, and he gave a polite blessing. Only then did I truly believe he'd let go. More than one person told me, given how much Carter values you, and that he's had no other girls for years, I bet you two will be together eventually. Hearing that so much, I really believed it. Having a secret crush is about not giving up. Taking a step forward means either winning or losing everything. I was unlucky, it was the latter. 6. After I cut ties with Carter, the one who seemed happiest was Emily. We had fought before. She didn't like me, and I wasn't fond of her either. We're both women, who doesn't see the little schemes behind someone's smile? Not long after, I received a package. The sender was Emily, but the return address was Carter's villa. Inside, I found the things he had given me that day but I hadn't accepted. I thought about it and put them away. It made me feel a little sad. Carter used to dislike Emily just like I did. So why now was he acting like this, getting close to her but distant from me? Soon after, my cousin called. As usual, she brought up Carter, talking about how thoughtful he was, like the time he specially bought health supplements for my aunt and toys for my little nephew. 4 years ago, when my cousin got engaged, Carter was the one who accompanied me. Before we went, I told him my parents had passed away, and I was raised by my aunt. Usually careless, that day he was unusually attentive, noticing things I hadn't thought of. He even gave a big red envelope at the end. I listened quietly. Then I asked, "When was this?" Just a few days ago. But he seemed off that day, acting weird. I asked why he didn't bring you along, but he didn't answer. I took a deep breath. What was this supposed to mean? If he had already decided to distance himself from me, why do all these things secretly? Didn't he know the more he did that, the harder it would be for me to ever forget him? That wasn't what he wanted. I said, if he goes again, don't let him in. I won't have any contact with him anymore. I confessed to him, and he rejected me. My cousin was stunned, then comforted me for a long time. Soon, she and my aunt arranged several blind dates for me. It was overwhelming. But this had become a sore spot for my aunt. She had thought Carter and I would get together, so she wasn't worried. Now that she knew it wouldn't happen, she was nervous and stressed within days. I had no choice but to go on 2 dates. The day I met Carter again, I had just finished the second blind date. As I left the private room, I bumped right into Carter and his group. He wore a white shirt and black trousers, expressionless. After over a month apart, his vibe was much colder. When he saw me, he instinctively stepped forward. Then suddenly stopped, looking away as if he didn't see me. But his friends had already noticed me. They didn't seem to know what had happened between Carter and me. They invited me to join them for dinner. Ryan glanced at Carter and said, "All right, Lillian just came out of the private room. She must have eaten already. Don't force her to stay." Just as he finished, a phone rang from the group. Someone answered, spoke briefly, then hung up. He said, "Emily's asking where we are. She wants to come over." His tone was casual, like this happened all the time. But I remembered how, before, no one would ever deliver messages for another girl like that. I was still thinking when I heard Carter's voice. "Let her in." Then, as if remembering something, he looked at me, voice tense. "You stay too. Let's have dinner together." I paused a moment, then said, "Okay." 7. I was the last to enter. Only 2 seats were left in the room. One beside Carter. The other far from him. I knew that spot was reserved for me. For years, there was always a seat next to Carter kept for me. Everyone was used to it. I looked at Carter, and he was looking at me calmly, without any emotion, like he didn't care. But when I sat down, I caught a faint tremble in his hand resting beside him. Someone asked, "Why aren't you sitting next to Carter?" I thought for a bit, then made up an excuse. Before, I hadn't known my place. Now that he had rejected me, I had to accept it. That seat wasn't mine anymore. Soon after, Emily came in and sat right beside Carter. I watched quietly. I had eaten quite a bit earlier, so I wasn't hungry now. Carter didn't seem to have much appetite either. He probably hadn't eaten before coming. So it was me here that made him lose his appetite. Emily acted obediently next to Carter. They chatted occasionally. After a while, I looked away silently. At the end, Emily gave me a provocative glance. Then, brushing past me, she whispered near my ear. "I heard you were raised by others since childhood, no wonder you're so unlikable, clinging to Carter so desperately." My body stiffened, staring at her. That was something I had only told Carter. When Emily tried to say more, I pushed her away calmly, surprisingly calm in that moment. "Want to fight again? Bring it on." But Emily suddenly fell silent and stepped back. Last time, she had lost badly to me. I looked beside him. "Carter. Come here, let's talk." This didn't stir anything inside me anymore. It wouldn't hurt me now. But at that moment, I suddenly understood. He was stunned, turned around, still unaware of what was really happening. Emily wanted to follow. I said to her, "I'm talking to him. You better stay far away." Carter didn't defend her. Ryan got it, came over, and pulled Emily toward his car. After everyone left, I looked at Carter. We locked eyes for a moment before he pursed his lips and spoke first. "What do you want to say?" I looked straight into his eyes. "You like Emily, so you tolerate her being around you?" Carter frowned, then sneered bitterly. Does that matter? At least she never pretended to be my friend and fooled me for 6 years. His words were harsh, like he was sulking. I suddenly felt exhausted. Everything he did told me, look, Lillian, you were wrong, terribly wrong. You ruined your place in Carter's heart. I said, so what? I'm already far away from you. What else do you want me to do? He was silent a moment, irritated, biting his lip. Your liking me isn't right. Weren't we fine before? Yes, I want to go back to how things were. He paused, then said, that shouldn't be hard for you, right? I suddenly felt tired. Liking someone might just be a moment's thing. But giving up on someone? That's never easy. Lately, I've been trying hard not to seek him out, trying to keep calm inside. I thought time would heal everything. But now, standing in front of me, he was forcing a quick end. He wasn't used to life without me. But he couldn't give me what I wanted. So his demand was to give up on him completely. Only then could he honestly stay friends with me. Is that fair? I looked at him, all resentment gone. Fine, listen. Whatever your feelings for Emily, whether it's real or just because she showed up at this moment to force me to give up, that's your business. I won't ask anymore. As you wish, I won't like you anymore. Still, for the same reason, you once sincerely cared for me, treated me as a friend. So I agree, we'll go back to before. To being truly clear, proper friends with clear boundaries. A cool breeze blew, lifting my skirt. His expression softened, like a big burden was lifted. He smiled faintly, but there was a trace of confusion. Some things, he didn't grasp then. No matter how much he looked back, that moment was gone forever. 8. After that day, Emily never showed up in front of me again. Carter and I reached a strange kind of balance. He wouldn't contact me first. But his friends kept inviting me out. Dinners, hiking, skiing. Every excuse you can think of. I refused them all. My reason? I was busy. And I really was busy. I wasn't even in North City. I was on a business trip somewhere else. When I came back, it was already 4 p.m. Exhausted, I took a shower and went straight to bed. When I woke up, I got a call from my cousin. She said she had set up a meeting for me. The usual place. The person arrived right away. I didn't have time to refuse, so I quickly freshened up and rushed there. When I arrived, I realized my cousin had really put effort into this one. He was quite handsome, with a vibe a bit like Carter's. We chatted for a while, then he had to take a call outside. I was staring blankly when I suddenly remembered something and quickly opened my phone. It was Carter's birthday today. I had completely forgotten. So much had happened lately, and I hadn't prepared a gift for him. I opened WeChat. In the last half hour, he had sent me several messages. It was the first time in over 2 months. Have you forgotten something? Haven't we made up? Why don't you answer my calls? I hesitated, just about to call him back. Then his call came in. His tone was low, but with a hint of indifference. What have you been busy with lately? He meant, why do I always seem busy whenever someone invites me out? Even on such an important day, I don't answer the phone. After a pause, he added, it's been a long time since I last saw you. For some reason, I felt a little sorry for him in that tone. I was about to reply when my blind date walked in, cold and distant, saying, sorry, had something to deal with just now. Under the light, I looked at his face and realized his features actually reminded me a bit of someone else. Before, anything related to Carter would make me lose focus. But now, with just a slight resemblance, I calmly shook my head at him and said, it's nothing. Then I unconsciously replied to Carter, oh, I'm on a blind date. After a pause, I was about to ask where he was celebrating his birthday. But the breathing on the other end suddenly became heavy. Before I could say anything, I heard a crackling sound, then something hitting the wall. I held my phone tight. I was stunned for a long moment. The person on the line asked, "What's wrong? If you have something urgent, you can go first." I curled my fingers, still not understanding what happened. Did I say something wrong? Carter rarely loses his temper. Why did he smash his phone just now? Or maybe I heard wrong, and the phone just accidentally fell. I nodded and apologized. But shortly after I left the restaurant, I got another call. It was from work, something urgent. I had to go immediately. Standing at a crossroads, I wanted to send Carter a message to explain. I typed 2 characters, then deleted them. I told myself, forget it, what's the point of explaining? If I explain too much, he might think I still have feelings for him. Finally, I called Ryan. "I'm not going. Just tell Carter happy birthday for me." Ryan hesitated, as if wanting to say something, but in the end just nodded, "Okay." In a daze, I heard a familiar voice on the other end, cold and a bit sarcastic, "Don't bother her." If it had been before, knowing I almost missed Carter's birthday, I would have rushed over no matter what. But maybe Carter didn't need me to do that. What he needed was just a friend. I only found out much later. That day, Carter had been looking forward to it since early morning. Everyone believed I wouldn't miss his birthday. He personally checked every detail of the party over and over, decorated with my favorite roses, used my favorite perfume, and thought of so many things to say to me. After all, it had been a long time since we'd talked properly. But he waited all day long, past the party start time, and his phone never rang. Someone joked seeing his lost look. "Carter, do you like Lillian? We've known for a while, you're not like the others." Carter, almost stunned, repeated, "Like her?" The other nodded, "Yeah, it's obvious." He sat there for a long time, then opened the chat window he checked every day. After much thought, he typed something. He wanted to say a lot. At that moment, he must have wanted to say a lot. But what he typed was ordinary to the extreme. Then came the call that caught him off guard. For the first time, he was so helpless and angry. But he didn't know who he was angry at. The next moment, he smashed his phone. He seemed to forget that he had rejected me, and I would always be with someone else. No one waits forever for someone who won't come. 9. The next day, I was the one to reach out to Carter. He answered quickly but didn't start the conversation. I didn't mention what happened the day before, just said, "I've already sent your gift. It should arrive soon." There was a pause, and then his voice sounded a bit hoarse. "What? You finally pick up, but can't even say happy birthday to me directly?" I said, "Happy birthday." He chuckled but didn't hang up. Like looking for something to say, he asked, "Did you make it yourself?" I was caught off guard. I didn't expect him to ask that. "Does it matter if I made it myself?" "No," I said. "The gifts I gave before now seem a little too intimate for just friends." This time, my gift was very standard. He fell silent again, and after a while, I heard the flick of a lighter. He had a cigarette in his mouth, his voice was slurred and sounded a little nervous. "How did the blind date go last night?" I thought of that face and felt a little guilty. "It went well." On his end, I wasn't sure if he heard me clearly, but he choked a bit and suddenly started coughing. I glanced at the time. "I have something to do later, so I'll keep it short." He replied in a hoarse voice, "Okay." After that day, we still kept in touch like before. But most of the time, he was the one initiating contact. One day, he messaged me. "I'm making cookies. Forgot a few steps. Can you come over and teach me?" I don't know when it started, but our chats turned into a series of "Can you?" "Could you?" "Would it be okay if?" So distant it felt unreal. My thoughts got scattered, and I forgot to reply to that message. When I got home and saw him standing at the door, I suddenly remembered. He glanced at his phone, then looked up at me, a bit tired. "You should have gotten off work an hour ago. Why are you just getting back now?" I was stunned. I had just made a last-minute plan to eat out with a friend. I didn't expect Carter to wait there. Just as I was about to explain, he raised an eyebrow and asked, "Went to see your blind date?" I opened my mouth but just nodded. "Yeah." He didn't smile but stared at me. After a while, he called my name seriously. "Lillian." I looked at him confused. Just then, my phone rang. I had to answer. It was the blind date from that day calling. He asked if I wanted to go to a movie together. I didn't expect there to be a next time after leaving early last time. Before I could say anything, Carter was behind me asking, "The blind date?" I sighed inwardly. How worried was he to even keep track of my blind dating progress? I thought for a moment, then answered the caller. "Sure." We chatted a bit more and set a date for next week before I hung up. Carter's gaze darkened, then he gave a faint smile. "Not bad. You've been hard to get lately." I said, "Yeah, I've been busy." He snorted lightly and said nothing more. He followed me inside. He rarely came to my place. My place was small, and with his tall stature, he seemed awkward standing inside. I'd never seen him like that before. I almost wanted to laugh. He looked at me like he suddenly got interested, and relaxed a little. Not so silent anymore. He tied on an apron and skillfully worked the butter. I watched quietly, feeling awkward with nothing to do, so I talked about some recent things I'd encountered. Every sentence got a response. I looked at him and suddenly stopped. It felt strange. "You taught me how to make these cookies. How did you forget the steps?" Also, he hadn't asked me what to do next just now. The room fell silent. I heard something nearly knocked over. His voice was rough. "I just remembered. 10. Slowly, Carter and I got back to how we used to be. But maybe it was just me imagining things. He didn't seem happy. 2 days later, one of Carter's friends had a baby's full-month celebration. I went too. Afterwards, a few of us gathered for dinner. I hadn't planned to go, but Carter grabbed my wrist. "If I get drunk later, and you're not by my side, I won't be able to get home." The night was deep and dark. His tone sounded pitiful. He looked down at me, eyes full of unspoken words. I thought about it and agreed. Anyway, it would be the last time. He'd been so good to me before, so taking care of him once wasn't a big deal. Friends helping each other out. Half a month ago, I was told I'd be sent to work in Jiangcheng. For at least half a year. Leaving tomorrow. By the time we'd all had a lot to drink, the place was noisy. Someone suggested a game of truth or dare. Soon it was Carter's turn. Someone asked, "Carter, do you like anyone?" He was silent for a moment, then looked up and said, "Yes." Everyone started teasing, looking at me. Besides me, maybe no one else came to mind. I was a bit stunned. I was about to say, "Don't look at me, it's not me." I'd confessed to Carter before, and he rejected me flat out. No face saved. But before I could say anything, Carter smiled and said, "Okay, let's continue." I'd been lucky not to lose all night. Near the end, I finally lost once. The question was to me, and the asker was Carter. He held his cards, eyes full of subtle meaning. He asked, "Truth or dare?" I thought and said, "Dare." His brows lifted slightly, lips pressed, looking a bit nervous. "Send a message to your blind date. Tell him you can't go to the movies with him tomorrow." Our eyes met. I didn't move. Carter raised his gaze with a bit of pressure and slowly said, "Hard?" I said, "Yeah, very hard." Actually, I told him that same night. I declined the movie invitation. But these things I don't owe him. We're just friends. Saying too much crosses the line. I grabbed my drink and downed it. I said, "Continue." In the second half, Carter kept drinking shot after shot, his face darkening like something was seriously wrong. 11. We played until quite late that night and Carter really got drunk. I took him back to his place. At the villa's gate, I asked him for his keys. He felt around his pockets, looked at me, his eyes red at the corners. I didn't bring them. I froze. So what now? He was clear-headed. Let's go to your place. My place was nearby. At this point, it seemed like the only option. I took him home with me. He walked beside me, stumbling a bit, staring at me. His gaze was so direct. Suddenly, in a soft tone, he asked, Lillian, when did you start liking me? I didn't hesitate much. 6 years. Carter, I've liked you for 6 years. That topic had basically become taboo between us during this time. Now, he must have been drunk to ask it. He pressed his lips together and fell silent. His whole body tensed up. Back at home, I made him a bowl of warm sake soup. He sat on the sofa, holding the bowl, took a big sip, his shirt a bit messy, looked at me. Good. I smiled. What's so good about this? After he finished, I crouched beside him, coaxing him, took the bowl from his hands. Suddenly, the lights went out, power cut. I was about to stand when his hand suddenly grabbed my waist. I fell against him. Our breaths mingled. Fueled by the alcohol, he was a bit forceful. His lips nearly touched mine, warm breath against my face. He kept calling my name, Lillian. I pushed him away. Enough. Lie down and rest. Dawn's coming. I had an early flight. My things weren't packed yet. No time to waste here with him. After a while, the lights came back on. Carter looked uncomfortable, struggling with his shirt. I bent down to help him change into something more comfortable. Every time he got drunk before, I'd take care of him like this. But that thought vanished quickly. It wasn't right. I turned to head to the bedroom. Suddenly, he grabbed my wrist tightly. His grip was firm, his breath growing heavier, still mumbling something. I couldn't make out the words clearly. Only faintly caught words like regret and like. Moonlight streamed in, lighting up his figure. I thought, oh, this is the man I secretly liked for 6 years. When I left, Carter was still asleep. I called Ryan. Carter's at my place. Can you come pick him up? Ryan instinctively asked, what about you? I looked at my suitcase. I'm heading to Jiangcheng. Won't be back for a while. He was silent for a moment. Does Carter know? Is he okay with you leaving? I didn't understand. Why wouldn't he let me go? Ryan was speechless for a while, then stammered, I mean, even for work, you don't have to go that far. Stay here, Carter would smooth the way for you. I smiled, we're just friends. No need for that. 12. After arriving in Jiangcheng, I began adjusting and finding a place to live. Busy, but happy. Before, Carter would handle all this for me. Now, alone, I found I didn't mind. Carter messaged me twice. The first time was just after I landed. I opened my phone and saw his short message. Leaving without a word. Lillian, you've grown up. I didn't know what to say. Thought for a long time, then replied, oh. The other time was at midnight, about 2 weeks after I arrived, my birthday. He sent a long message, saying he cooked a big meal himself and invited many people. Someone complained about the spicy food. Why is everything so spicy, Carter? He didn't eat a bite that day. At the end, he asked me, is the food there bland? Getting used to it. How's your place? Anyone bullying you? I read it twice, then replied, used to it. No. Why does he do this? Every time, I start to think he likes me again. A couple of days later, I got a high fever. I took a taxi alone to the hospital, registered, got in 4. Sitting in the hospital lobby, watching people come and go. I remembered 2 years ago when I was too busy to eat and barely slept, collapsing from exhaustion. Back then, someone stayed by my side, took care of everything, I just had to sit there. I stayed in the hospital for 8 days. He arranged a private room for me. I slept better than anyone. He was worried, stayed up many nights watching over me. A version of him that didn't like me. Amid the noise, tears suddenly streamed down my face. How did it come to this? Even when I thought I'd moved on, moments like this made me hold on to feelings. I'm just like that, sensitive, insecure, a coward. But now, I should really face it and let go. I went to the hospital several days in a row. I didn't think about Carter anymore. On the last day, as I left, someone hurried over, dusty from the road. He saw me, walked quickly up. I heard you were sick. How are you now? Still feeling bad? I was stunned for a long time. Then, remembering something, I smiled. I'm fine now. By the way, Carter, do you remember that question you asked me before? He frowned, looking a bit nervous. What? You go first. I have something to tell you too. I said, okay, I'll go first. I repeated the question. Then, firmly. You were right. I'm only 25, haven't met many people. There will be someone better for me than you. By then, I wouldn't have to hide my feelings under the name of friendship. Whispers in the night, delicate thoughts.